After a winter of discontent, the Grand Prix racing world has gathered uneasily here at Kyalami in the Transvaal. Uneasily because the bitter feuding and fighting between the sport's governing body and the car constructors about the Grand Prix rules and how to implement them still rages. And as a result of that, there are no Ferraris, no Alfa Romeos and no Renaults at Kyalami, and there's grave doubt about whether the race will count for this year's championship. But it's a Grand Prix for sure, with 19 cars from the teams aligned to the Formula One Constructors Association, here to do battle on the superb 2.5-mile circuit at an altitude of 6,000 feet. With no turbo Renaults or Ferraris to benefit from the altitude, everyone is on the same terms. But at the end of what was effectively a one-session practice due to rain, the 1980 top men are still the fastest. Nelson Piquet's in pole position, a mere 1/25th of a second faster than Carlos Reutemann, who was nearly strangled to death by catch fencing wire when he went off in practice. Row 2, world champion Alan Jones, and that's no surprise. But up there with him, Keke Rosberg in the new Fittipaldi. Row 3, Elio De Angelis and Riccardo Patrese. But in a superb 8th place on the grid, the top British driver, Nigel Mansell. Desiree Wilson, the South African woman driver, has qualified, and so too have John Watson, Derek Daly and Jeff Lees, albeit right at the back. 77 laps, 196 miles, and René Arnoux' 1980 Renault lap record of 125.5 miles an hour to aim for. And they are getting away now for one warm-up lap before they go round, come up to the grid. Now they're going down the longest straight in Grand Prix racing, and they approach what is now called Marlborough Corner, or those of you who know the South African Grand Prix course will think of it as Crowthorne Corner. 3 corners have been renamed. So you're looking down the long straight now, and with me, James Hunt, the man who's driven in the South African Grand Prix many times. James, what are your views about prospects and the conditions?
Well, hopefully it could be quite an exciting race, because the track may well dry out. The weather has been improving here. The sun is now trying to peek through. We've got it stopped raining a couple of hours ago, and then we had a little shower as the cars were sitting on the grid. But if we get a wet dry situation, the drivers have to go and change tyres. We get a reshuffle of the order, and apart from the difficulties it presents us in keeping track of what's going on, it usually makes for a very exciting race. Form is very much in keeping with last year. Nelson Piquet's on the pole. He was the one running probably quickest right at the end of the last season, when Brabham's improved their car a little bit for the end of the championship races. Alan Jones is right there on the second row, just behind his teammate Reutemann. So the Williamses are obviously still in race-winning form, and I think today it'll probably be a thinking driver's race.
So there is one of the renamed corners, West Bank, which used to be known as Leo Cop, and they're coming into this long straight now, I'd say the longest in Grand Prix racing. Behind the 2 cars there, on the right the Brabham, and on the left the Williams of Carlos Reutemann is one of the 2 Lotuses, and incidentally, Britisher Nigel Mansell has driven a storming practice. He was at one point in 5th fastest position, finished up in 8th place on the grid on the 4th row, and the car on the right of the 2 behind the 2 lead cars is Elio De Angelis. The 2 cars on the left, you can just see Alan Jones's car, the world champion, coming into the picture, and he's lining up between Carlos Reutemann and Nelson Piquet. That's significant. So it looks as though Alan Jones is going to try for a flyer when the lights go from red to green, and then the 77 lap, 196.3 miles South African Grand Prix will be on. The lap record, which certainly won't be broken today, because quite apart from the weather conditions, we have to remember that last year's lap record was put up by René Arnoux in a turbocharged Renault. This course is 6,000 feet up, and the turbocharged cars, of which there are none here, have a distinct advantage. So the fastest lap in practice was put up by Nelson Piquet, 1 minute 12.78, which is faster than last year's official lap record, but not nearly as fast as the pole. And now they are coming up and away. And past it, Piquet leading Elio De Angelis goes up into second place. Carlos Reutemann drops back into third. Alan Jones trying to get through on the inside. And just look at that spray. It must be absolute murder for anybody who is behind the lead. Round Crowthorne Corner. Nelson Piquet leading. This is a third gear point now. Piquet streaking away towards Barbecue Bend. Look at the lead that he's got. It's Elio De Angelis in second place, and in third place it's Jan Lammers, the Dutch driver in the ATS. Piquet. There is De Angelis. There is Jan Lammers. Well up there is Carlos Reutemann. Behind Reutemann is Ricardo Zunino, the Argentine driver in the second Brabham, because Hector Ribac, the Mexican driver, has got hepatitis and is not starting. That is the leader. That is Piquet, young Nelson Piquet, number 5, 28 years old. He's round now towards the S's. He's past Ford Corner, and Lammers is challenging De Angelis as they go into the S's. Now up to West Bank. And of course, De Angelis and Lammers will be tending to slow each other up as they're fighting for that second position and giving Nelson Piquet a chance to break away. James.
Yes, great start by Nelson Piquet, Murray. Did everything right. He's got a lovely situation going on behind him with the other guys having a bit of a set too, fighting it out. Brilliant start by Lammers. He's come from 9th on the grid, right up into 3rd place. He's a very good wet weather driver. He's got terrific car control, a lot of talent. These conditions, so long as they persist, should definitely suit Lammers. We'll be watching with interest to see if John Watson can make some impression from a lowly grid position, because in this morning's wet practice session, Watson was very quick indeed. In fact, while he was running, he was the quickest car. Lammers having a go there, and up, and Lammers and De Angelis are touched. Lammers desperately fighting not to hit anything. Let's just hope he hasn't damaged his car at all. Well, he's got it going again. No, I think there's some damage to the car. It's snaking badly, I'm afraid. That's a great shame. Lammers was having a go at De Angelis. They're both hard guys, and they tangled.
So, Elio De Angelis holds that second place and undoubtedly damaged skirts on Jan Lammers' car, the ATS, the man who did so well in qualifying 4th fastest for Long Beach in the same make of car last year. He's effectively out of the race because a lot of people passed him, and that's Ford Corner. That's the new corner that's been renamed, was Clubhouse Corner, and you can see how slippery it is, and you can see too that Carlos Reutemann in the second of the two Williams cars, Alan Jones, the world champion, behind him. And as they come up to complete the second lap, I'll give you them as they go past our commentary positions. But it is Nelson Piquet well away now. Piquet leading at the end of lap 2 out of 77, and there is the Brazilian World Championship second place last year. Over the line goes Piquet in the lead at the end of lap 2. Then in second position behind Piquet as he goes down into Marlborough Corner, a long lead. It's De Angelis. Reutemann is third. Nigel Mansell is in 4th position. The Englishman, Nigel Mansell, is in 4th position, and you can just see him in that ball of spray behind Reutemann's car. There is Mansell. Behind Mansell is John Watson. Behind John Watson is Alan Jones, well down. Then Ricardo Zunino. There goes the Brabham round the bend. And now the sun is coming out, and I am looking hard down at the circuit to see whether the rain has stopped. I'm looking at the surface of a puddle, but you can see that Piquet is throwing up spray, the car drifting sideways as he goes round that left-hander, and now into Clubhouse, into Ford Corner again, up towards the S's, a very tricky section. Now, but let's hope that we'll see the second place battle, because it's developing into something as Piquet goes up to the S's, 3rd gear this is, well over 10,000 revs, and that's about 128 miles an hour. Now he's going up towards West Bank Corner and up towards the kink into the straight in 5th gear, and it is 165 miles an hour along the fastest part of this course. Nelson Piquet leading, and this is the end of lap 3 out of 77, and it rather looks already as though the Brazilian has got the race in his pocket, because just look at that gap. Nelson Piquet with almost the length of the straight as the second man bursts into sight, and it is 22-year-old Elio De Angelis from Rome. Reutemann is still third, Mansell fourth, John Watson fifth. Alan Jones is 6th. Derek Daly has come up right through the field in the march. Derek Daly in the John McDonald and Robin Hearn march is up into 7th place. And there was the Irishman. You just saw him going round the corner. We're looking at De Angelis in 2nd place.
A wonderful start to the season for Nelson Piquet. He's really showing terrific form at the moment. He's built up a huge lead considering they've only done 3.5 laps already, and he's not letting up for one moment. He's really trying. You can see him throwing the car about, sliding all over the place. Marvellous stuff for him.
But there is De Angelis, 2nd place. This young Italian who's taken over the Lotus team leader role with the defection, as it were, of Mario Andretti, who has gone to Alfa Romeo. Look at the battle for 3rd. That's Mansell challenging Carlos Reutemann, and Mansell is through. Lotus is 2nd and 3rd, and Nigel Mansell is through into 3rd position in only his 2nd Grand Prix that he looks like finishing. He's driven in some other Grand Prix, and now that's John Watson, a good wet weather driver. John Watson is up into 4th position and challenging Mansell as they come through to complete lap 4. Good battle as over the line goes Piquet.
Yes, Watson's in ideal position now to have a go at Mansell. He's done a marvellous job. He's had a lot of trouble with his car running on the dry track, but as soon as it was wet this morning, he was very quick indeed, and he's come right through the field from 15th place on the grid.
So you look at the battle for 2nd position as on lap 5 in what is turning out to be a very exciting South African Grand Prix. In the lead is Nelson Piquet. In 2nd position, Elio De Angelis. In 3rd position, Nigel Mansell. 4th, John Watson, and in 5th place, Carlos Reutemann. But what a wonderful race for Nigel Mansell. He did well in practice the day before yesterday. He did well in untimed practice, and you're looking at the 2 Lotuses now, and all British motor racing enthusiasts will be praying that the Lotuses are going to make a comeback. A terrific scrap between De Angelis and Mansell for 2nd position. Mansell running very wide at 4th corner and nearly losing it. John Watson lining up behind them. You can see how slippery that course is. This is the battle for 2nd place. 2nd, 3rd and 4th together.
It's all getting a bit hairy there. I think John Watson's panicking a bit. He's the more experienced of people. Great start to his serious Grand Prix career from Nigel Mansell. Did very well in practice. Watson challenging on the inside. Watson, I think, has got him, but Mansell's he's not giving up. He's really having a go. Most impressive stuff. Terrific to see a young British driver doing so well early in his Grand Prix career.
Yes, we're all tending to talk about Nigel Mansell, and rightly so, because it was only last year that he had moved up from Formula 3, effectively. He drove in the Austrian Grand Prix and retired. He drove in the Dutch Grand Prix and retired, and he's having a go at John Watson again as they come down the straight into Marlborough Corner, and in the background I see Alan Jones closing up. There is Reutemann, that is Alan Jones, there is Derek Daly. Behind Derek Daly is Riccardo Zunino, and Riccardo Zunino, the Argentine driver, is in about 8th position, and Mansell is through, and back is the 3rd position. A wonderful storming drive by the Birmingham driver, Nigel Mansell, with Elio De Angelis in front of him. John Watson in his wheel tracks and streaking through. Watson lined up beautifully for the corner there, sprinted through, and Nigel Mansell, fighting every inch of the way, refuses to give up, and all the time, of course, with these 3 slowing each other up, the 2 Williams are closing on them with Carlos Reutemann and Alan Jones at the wheel. There is Reutemann. The white car in those 4 is Reutemann. The lead car is John Watson, who is back into 2nd position.
Yes, Watson did a terrific bit of driving there. He passed both Lotuses in successive corners. He now has the problem of getting far enough away as they come onto the straight now in the final corner onto the straight to give himself enough room, because the Lotuses appear to be a little bit quicker on the straight, and what he doesn't want to do, of course, is to be repassed, but he's definitely quicker around the back of the circuit through the twisty section, but he must have the cushion to, of course, remain in that position. If he stays there now, he'll get away. I think he's got enough.
There is John Watson in 2nd place, and it's Alan Jones coming up through the field. He's in 3rd position now. Nigel Mansell is in 5th position. We're looking at the leader, and I say it's significant that Keke Rosberg, and off goes Lees. That's Jeff Lees, the English driver who qualified last. The car is a Theodore, although in fact it is last year's March, and exactly the same thing happened to Jeff Lees in last year's South African Grand Prix. I remember vividly the shot of Jeff Lees ploughing off the course into the catch fence. And incidentally, although Jeff Lees looks all right, and mercifully the marshals are straight on top of him, this is the situation that Carlos Reutemann had to face yesterday, except that the catch fencing wire was forcing his head right back. It ripped off the air supply tube to the emergency bottle, and Carlos's head was pushed right back. But Jeff Lees is being, as you can see as well as I can, being lifted out of the car. And it rather looks to me as though Lees is not conscious. Derek Mansell has spun somewhere down the circuit, and that's the interesting thing. Alan Jones has decided that the conditions are good enough for him to come in and have slick tyres fitted. Look closely at those tyres. You see there is no tread patch, but they're taking an extraordinarily long time about this pit stop.
Well, I'm doubtful that that decision's right, Murray. I think that's a very early decision by Alan Jones. The track is by no means dry enough. I would be very surprised if he goes quickly on those slick tyres as he would do on wet. And if he can't keep up the pace, it may be quite a while before the track dries. It's overcast, there's a possibility of further rain. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But I do think that was a bit on the early side, unless he had another problem and he took the opportunity of getting both things done at the same time and was forced to go into the pit.
Now, this race is now going to turn into a lap scorer's nightmare, because Nigel Mansell has come in for tyres. And as we look at world champion number one Alan Jones, there is Nigel Mansell, who has driven so superbly in this race and in practice. He has come in to have new tyres, and at the end of the 18th lap it is still Nelson Piquet leading as Mansell sprints out of the pits on those slick tyres, aquaplaning momentarily, I'm sure, on the puddles. And with a long gap, it is Nelson Piquet leading from John Watson, and we're still waiting for the third man to come through, with Alan Jones having gone into the pit. And the third man is now Riccardo Zunino, because Derek Daly has slipped down. Nigel Mansell incidentally spun, and Daly is coming into the pits as I talk to you to have new tyres fitted. Now, John McDonnell told me before this race, and John McDonnell is his team manager, that he was going to send Daly out on slicks when the race began, but you can see perfectly well that he didn't do so, because you can see the tread pattern on those tyres, which are being changed now by the McDonnell team mechanics. Very heavy sponsorship for the McDonnell team coming from Chile, but from Eliseo Salazar's countrymen. And Daly getting his visor wiped down. The tyres have gone on. The new wheels and tyres have gone on. The pneumatic hammers have tightened up the nuts. And now he gets the wave, and away goes Derek Daly. And as Daly goes through, one of the Brabhams goes past. Is it Piquet or is it Zunino? It looks like, yes, it is. It's Nelson Piquet. So, on lap 19 out of 77, the race order in this South African Grand Prix of 1981 is Nelson Piquet leading in the Brabham. In second place behind him, John Watson. Then a long way back, Riccardo Zunino. In fourth place, it is Derek Daly. Fifth is Carlos Reutemann. And behind Reutemann in sixth position, it's Chico Serra. Now, the course is drying, but it's still very, very damp. And there is Keke Rosberg, and if you want to make a note of it, Keke Rosberg has just gone round in 1 minute 30.3 seconds, and Alan Jones is in again. So it looks like the race is run. His air supply pipe has just been disconnected. Is Alan Jones getting out of the car? Yes, indeed he is. Alan Jones, the world champion of 1980, starts 1981 very poorly indeed. He was not really in the running until about the fourth or fifth lap, and he's back into the car. I was just about to announce his retirement. What, James, do you suppose that could have been?
Well, they're just changing the rear wing on the car. I have no idea why, whether he backed it into something with a spin and the slippery conditions, or whether something fell off. but he's going to lose too much time, what with his tyre change stop and now this. He will be pretty much out of the running, I would think.
Now, there is John Watson, and it looks to me visually as though John Watson is definitely closing up. Now watch for the McLaren, the red and white McLaren in the background as Piquet goes round four corner, and there is Watson. 7.83 seconds was the gap. And we are on lap 25 out of 77. Piquet leads, Watson second, Zunino is in third place. Up into fourth place, Carlos Reutemann. Down to fifth position, Chico Serra. And in sixth place, Elio De Angelis in the Lotus, ahead of the seventh place man, De Cesaris, in the second of the two Marlboro McLaren cars. There is Watson, second place. And what was it, 8 seconds approximately. There is Piquet, the leader. He's just about to take Eliseo Salazar. Over the line goes Piquet. The seconds are ticking away. Now, where is John Watson? Is he coming into the pit? No, over the line. 7.56 seconds. Watch for Watson. He's closing up on one of the Arrows cars, either Patrese or Siegfried Starr. He's in his sights now. John Watson, who has won one Grand Prix in his time. This is his 108th Grand Prix. But there's Piquet. He's now got through that collection of four cars. He's got a clear track in front of him. Watson had closed up a second, but now Watson has got to catch and get past Keke Rosberg, who is hanging on to number 5, Nelson Piquet, in the Ford Cosworth-powered 500 horsepower V8 car, and Rosberg is retaking the place, and Rosberg goes past.
That's very significant because Rosberg is on dry tyres and Piquet is on wet, which means quite possibly that the track has now become better for a slick-shod car, which means that Piquet must change immediately if he's going to make the right decision. He should see that Rosberg is on dry tyres. He's been running very equally with him. Yes, maybe he is heading to the pits. Yes, Piquet, I think, has slowed down and has made the right decision. I think maybe a little bit late. We'll see if he's coming in. Yes, there he goes. Yeah, Piquet's into the pits. Now, let's hope that Watson follows him in, because it's very important that John Watson should come in and change now as well.
I will give you the time for Piquet's stop from wheel stop now until he goes again, and I will let you know when John Watson goes through into the lead, as he is undoubtedly going to do. John Watson in the Marlboro McLaren car, and they've got the front wheels now changed, the pneumatic hammers banging away, and John Watson is through into the lead. The Irishman is leading, and the seconds are ticking away, and the time was some 25 seconds. And all the time, I imagine now that Nelson Piquet will have just about got his tyres warm, and will be starting to gain on Watson. So Watson must make that pit stop.
Yes, every lap Watson goes on now and stays on wet tyres is definitely his disadvantage, and I just hope that he has spotted that situation and that his pit have informed him of it. I'm surprised that they haven't actually called him in yet, and I think that they certainly should have done, and I just hope that he's coming in. He's coming onto the pit straight now. He's got the kinks to negotiate, and we will wait with bated breath to see if he's doing the right thing, because it can't be right to stay out on wet tyres any longer.
Well, once again, the Marlboro mechanics say he's coming in now. 25 seconds is the time to beat. And even if he does 25 seconds, it means that Nelson Piquet will retake the lead. Stop! And start the stopwatch. Down goes the rear jack. Up come the rear wheels. Off come the front and rear wheels. On go the new slick tyres, near side and off side. They give the signal that they're ready at the back, and it looks as though they've got a jam at the front. But no, they're clear, and 19 seconds. And now into the lead goes Carlos Reutemann, the Argentinian driver, in the Saudi Leyland Williams car. And it's significant that Reutemann has been on slick tyres since the beginning of the race, and so now he looks set to hold that lead on the right tyres. This is his 130th Grand Prix, and this would be the 11th Grand Prix that he's won if he gets home in first place, and I qualify it always because until the driver sees the checkered flag, he has not won the race. But it will be another wonderful moment for Frank Williams, the Williams team owner and his colleague Patrick Head, who so superbly designs these Williams cars and manages to keep ahead of the opposition. Let us not lose sight, however, of the fact that fine a race as this South African Grand Prix of 1981 has been, it has lacked three very important ingredients. One of those ingredients is called Ferrari, another of those ingredients is called Alfa Romeo, and the third ingredient is the Renault team. Reutemann is about to catch and take number 7, John Watson, who led the race earlier on in the Marlboro McLaren and is in 5th position at the moment. And it looks to me as though Desiree Wilson, yes she is, I can tell you as you watch Reutemann that Desiree Wilson is out of the race. Her car is being pushed away in the pits. The circuit now perfectly dry and proving that Reutemann took the right gamble when he decided to start this very wet race on slick tyres. He's passed the Sky sweep. He's now on his way to Sunset Bend, round it, which he takes at some 140 miles an hour. These Formula One cars of today are so stable, it seems difficult to believe they're going as fast as they are. Into the S's for the last time. Out of the S's, the right-hander climbing up towards West Bank corner to put it into 5th gear to approach the fastest part of the course. And Reutemann, as he crests the rise, could undoubtedly kick the clutch home, put it into neutral, coast home, and still win the South African Grand Prix. But he won't need to do that. The Williams is as reliable as ever. The checkered flag is spreaded over the line. Goes Carlos Reutemann. So now, where is Nelson Piquet? There is the checkered flag. Reutemann is the winner. Nelson Piquet is going to finish. There is the Brazilian finishing in 2nd place, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. Elio De Angelis finishing in 3rd place with it looks like Chico Serra right behind him, but Serra of course has been lapped. So a win in the 1981 South African Grand Prix for Carlos Reutemann, the man who won at Monaco last year, was 3rd in the 1980 World Championship. In 2nd position was Nelson Piquet, who was 2nd in the World Championship last year. In 3rd position, Elio De Angelis, and only those three have done the full 77 laps of the South African Grand Prix. So, a race of changes, but in the end, it was Carlos Reutemann with yet another win, and a very deserved one for the Williams team. But will it count for World Championship points? By the time of the next Grand Prix at Long Beach in California on March the 15th, we should know. Grand Prix will be at Long Beach, of course, and we hope you'll be with us.